for weighttraining.com. Last week I talked about how important it is to master the basics when it comes to exercise, and I said that I was going to be going over several different movement patterns and talking about some of the basic exercises that I believe need to be mastered before you move on to more difficult ones. Today we're going to be discussing the squat, or the knee dominant pattern. The squat is the king of lower body exercises. It's really important, but a lot of times people don't perform it correctly. They don't master the basic movements before they move on to something a little bit more complicated. So what I'm going to talk about today are a couple of key form things that we look for when someone's performing the squat, and then I'll show you two of my favorite super basic exercises. So it's really popular when people are squatting to squat with their head really, really far back. It kind of comes from the powerlifting community, where you look up and drive yourself out of the hole, throwing your head back, because it's true, your body is going to follow where your eyes go. It's a little bit kind of controversial and debated, but the way that we teach the squat for most of our basic and average everyday lifters is with a more neutral, packed neck. You're not necessarily looking down at the floor, but it's just a little bit more neutral and packed. What this does is it keeps you from going into hyperextension. It keeps your low back from taking the load. Because when you throw your head back, okay, you kind of instantly go into this hyperextended state, and you're not able to bear the entire load that you're lifting across your whole core. So we teach a little bit more of a neutral or packed neck. Again, this is kind of controversial, but it's just the way that we found that works best for our clients. And the way that we squat. We also teach people to expand circumferentially, so 360 degrees of expansion. Another thing people often do is just push out on the front of their belt when they're lifting, and you need to learn how to expand through your entire core to help stabilize you a little bit better. Another thing, chest up, always. Again, you don't want to be chest so far up that you're hyperextending your back, but you want your chest up. You want to drive your knees out, and you really want to sit back. A lot of people do a really quad-dominant squat where they tend to kind of drop forward. It's important to sit back into your hips. You'll also find that you may have a bit of a forward lean. If you're like me and you've got longer legs and a shorter torso, you'll probably have more of a forward lean. If you've got shorter legs and a longer torso, you'll probably be able to sit a little bit more upright. So those are the main things that we look for, kind of a neutral packed neck, shoulders back, chest up, circumferential 360-degree expansion, sitting back into your hips, driving your knees out really hard, and not being afraid to have a little bit of a lean. So a couple of my favorite exercises I'm going to show you for beginners are the bodyweight box squat and the goblet squat. The bodyweight box squat, we have people, again, this is for your average person, set up with your feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, toes turned out slightly, around 10 and 2 on the clock. We have them brace their core really hard. Think about pushing out 360 degrees. If they're in this hyperextended state to begin with, we tell them to think about pulling their ribs to their pelvis, okay, get them a little bit more neutral. Have them put their hands right here, because eventually they'll be holding a kettlebell. Have them sit back into their hips and drive their knees out. So sit back, drive their knees out. Sit on the box. You don't want to relax on the box, but you do actually want to sit and put your body weight on the box. Sit on the box, then brace your core, and come back up. That was a little bit awkward because I had not been in the right position. But again, drive your knees out, sit back, come back up, knees out, sit back, come back up. Once they've mastered this, they're welcome to load it with a kettlebell. But this is a really great way to teach beginners to squat. If they have a hard time, if they tend to kind of come forward a little bit, you could always have them start on the box first, then set their feet up, then tell them to brace their core and stand up. That works well too. Next, my other favorite exercise after you've mastered the bodyweight box squat is the goblet squat. Just grab a kettlebell. You can use a dumbbell as well if you'd like. Again, set up with your feet a little wider than shoulder width apart, toes turned out slightly. Pick up the kettlebell, hold it right underneath the horns, keep it close to the chest. Same thing, drive your knees out, chest up, sit back, head neutral, just like that, okay? And you want to stop at the point right before you would lose your neutral spine. A lot of people, myself included, have a hard time maintaining a completely neutral spine when they're doing that. So sometimes they'll tuck under or they will hyperextend. You want to stop right before that happens and you lose your neutral spine. So anyway, guys, I hope you learned something about the squat today. Like I said, my favorite movements to master before you do like a barbell squat. for something more advanced would be the bodyweight box squat or the goblet squat. So again, this is Molly Galbraith at mollygalbraith.com, 10 Curls Gone Strong, bringing you your expert tip for weighttraining.com. Hope you enjoyed it.